What's up everybody, it's Alex from Everything for iPod. Today I'm holding an iPhone 4. This is the AT&T GSM model and it does have a cracked screen. I'm going to show you how you can replace the screen yourself. Apple usually charges a ridiculous amount of money to replace the screen and you can get a part for about $35 to $100. I got mine for $35 off eBay, but you can get them off reliable websites to ensure that they're OEM parts on websites like Zetron or iFixit. I'll put some links in the description. Basically, you want to make sure it's OEM to ensure a good fit and make sure that the screen doesn't turn yellow. It was a pretty easy repair the first time I did it. I'm going to show you on camera how to do it. It will require some time. You will need to be careful, take your time, and be gentle with everything. It was a pretty easy repair. I'm no repair expert or anything, so it was, for a user, a pretty easy repair. That being said, you are doing this at your own risk, so I'm not responsible for anything that happens to your phone, so just keep that in mind. But that being said, it was really easy, and have fun repairing. But let's go ahead and get into the repair of the AT&T iPhone 4 and fixing the screen. There aren't a lot of parts you will need for this repair, but there are some. The first thing I recommend having is a screw mat. This is just a piece of paper with the picture of an iPhone and little circles so I know where all the screws go. Most of the screws are different sizes. I got this on iFixit.com. I'll put a link in the description where you can get this. It does cost money. You're supposed to buy it, and they send you a magnetic one so the screws stick to it. But I just took a screenshot of it, printed it out, and just made sure I didn't bump it or anything. You also need the iPhone that you're repairing, as well as a new screen. Make sure it has a like the screen, LCD, not a digitizer, you need that too, but make sure it has two cables coming out of the top, and make sure you can't see through it. The screen should be attached to it because there's no way to actually disconnect the LCD and put it on a new glass assembly. So those are the main things, pretty obvious. Now let's get into some of the tools you will need. There's really not that many different tools, but you will need to make sure you have these specific ones. First thing you will need is a Phillips head screwdriver. It doesn't need to be too big while I try to get this in focus. You should be able to buy like an iPhone 4 repair kit online if you just search it like an Amazon or eBay. That's what I did. I just searched iPhone 4 repair kit on eBay and came up with that. So you will need Phillips head screwdriver, then a small flathead screwdriver, a plastic spudger, which is just a little plastic kind of prying tool. And then you will need a paper clip to take your SIM card out, or a SIM eject tool, or like a thumbtack, something like that. If you have a newer model of the iPhone that has the pentalobe screws on the bottom, you'll need a pentalobe screwdriver. I didn't need that. You might want a pair of pliers. Sometimes it makes things a little bit easier. You might need something like an X-Acto knife just to scrape some glass off and to peel off a sticker. That's it for the tools. So now we need to go to our iPhone. Go ahead and hold the top button down. We need to completely power it off before we get inside of it. And once we've done that, we want to go over to the side, use our paper clip, and eject the SIM card. Even if you don't have a SIM card in there, you do need to take out the tray because it locks into the motherboard. On the bottom of the phone, there are two Phillips head screws. I recommend using magnetized screwdrivers through this whole process. It just makes picking up these little tiny screws a lot easier because all the screws are really small. And if you don't have a magnetized screwdriver, all you need to do is get a refrigerator magnet, rub the screwdriver on it 2 or 3 times, and you should be all set. Once those two screws are out, you can just flip the phone over to the back, slide the back panel up a little bit, and then take it out, and we are inside the phone. We're going to start by removing the battery, and first we have to remove this Phillips head screw down at the bottom of the battery connector. And then what we have to do is take our plastic spudger and just lift it up. Best place to do that is the top left-hand corner. And once we lift that up, we are going to take this little metal piece out. You can do it with your fingers. I just thought it was easier with pliers. It is really thin metal, really fragile, but it's not connected. It's just kind of sitting in there, so you shouldn't have a problem with that. And now we want to start removing the battery. So there is this little plastic tab up here, but if you use that, it can break really easily. And it can get bent, and Apple will know you were in your phone if you ever need to take it to them. So I suggest just using your spudger to lift that battery out of place. The first time you take it out, it will really be stuck down there. It is kind of glued in. Don't be afraid to pull hard. You should be fine. Now it's time to remove the EMI shield at the top of the phone, held in by 5 screws, which I'm pointing to now. They are all different size screws. They are all Phillips head though, so just make sure you keep track of them and know which ones go where. And to save time, I'm going to speed this up, but if you need to pause the video at any time to complete a step, go ahead and do so. Now that EMI shield is free, so just use your fingers to pick it up. It is kind of hooked in at the bottom there, so pull it back towards you and it will unhook. So lift this plastic battery tab back, and behind there you'll see a screw. Sometimes it will have a white cover on it. That is a water sensor, so if it's red, it turns red when it gets wet. You can kind of peel it up with an X-Acto knife and stick it back on at the end so Apple doesn't know you were in your phone. Technically, it kind of does void your warranty, but they can't tell if you carefully take it off and then put it back on. But if you totally destroy it, they will know that you were in your phone. So now we want to take the shield out that is covering one ribbon cable, so do so by removing those 2 screws. They are different sizes, so keep track of them, and then taking that metal piece off. The vibrator is next on our list. It's in the top right hand corner, held in by 2 screws, so just go ahead and remove them. They are different sizes, but once you do that, it will come out very easily. Out comes the vibrator, and it is pretty easy to remove in your hands. Just don't lose it. Grab your spudger again, and we want to, right here in this corner, lift up this ribbon cable. It is pretty easy to lift up, but once you do, it adheres down, so you have to peel it back kind of slowly and then just fold it to the side there. Now we're going to go for the speaker module. That's held in by 2 screws, so go ahead and just remove those 2. These I couldn't actually get out. I loosened them as much as I could. Then you want to go ahead and disconnect this little diode here with your spudger. It is pretty fragile and small, so do so carefully. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and lift the speaker module out. Like I said, the screws were still in there. I loosened them, and then they were still sitting in the little holes. So when I pulled out the speaker module, the screws came out with it. Now there's this little funky screw up here at the top. You do remove it with a flathead screwdriver, and you will notice that there's a hole in the middle. That's because one of the screws from the EMI shield actually screws into this screw, so that's kind of weird. So if you're wondering what screw goes where when you're putting this back together, know that if 2 screws look like they go in the same spot, the one with the hole in the middle has to go in underneath the one without the hole. Now for the fun part. There's a bunch of ribbon cables up at the top of the phone that we have to disconnect using our spudger. So there's 2 silver ones there and then 3 black ones. The 3 black ones can be taken out in any order, and they have to be open towards you. So put your spudger in up at the top and then pull them towards you, and they will all disconnect. Again, those 3 black ones, they don't matter what order they have to be disconnected in. And then once you've done all 3 of those, you can do the silver ones. Once those are disconnected, you can go over to the 2 silver ones. The one closest to the camera that is horizontal has to be undone first. That is because the other one is connected underneath it. So do the horizontal one, the one that's closer to the camera first. That will pop up. And then you want to get the one underneath it, which is this little silver one, and just pop that one up. Both of those 2 open up towards the top of the phone, so you want to go from the bottom of the phone towards the top. So the 3 open towards you, and then the 2 open away from you. Now we want to do the same thing with this little camera connector here. So this is the only thing that holds the camera in, is that little ribbon cable. So if your camera goes flying, you should be fine. It's probably not broken. It is only connected with that little ribbon cable, no screws or anything. And once you have that ribbon cable detached, go ahead and just lift the camera out of its place. This is definitely the most tedious part of the repair. There are 10 screws that need to be touched, 3 on each side, as you can see here. And then 4 more, 1 in each corner. They are all Phillips head screws, so you won't need to worry about changing drivers. The 4 corner screws you are going to have to fully remove. However, the 6 on the sides you can just loosen. I loosen them 1.5 to 2 turns, and that seems to do the trick. Okay, so take your plastic spudger and insert it in between the stainless steel band and the screen, and you should be able to just work the spudger all the way around and loosen the screen from the rest of the phone. Make sure you don't just yank the screen away. There are 2 cables still attached to the screen, so you are going to need to slowly pull away and then feed those 2 ribbon cables through the slot at the top, and once you do that, you should be all free. Now we need to make sure our new screen has a speaker grill. You can see mine doesn't, so what I am going to do is transfer it from the old screen. So to do that, I just looked at the top, saw that the speaker grill was kind of just stuck down with some tape, so I just used my X-Acto knife to kind of peel it up and then transfer it to the new one. Make sure you don't overlap the speaker grill with the camera like I did. So we need to make sure that there's no glass laying on the adhesive, so to do that, I'm just going to use the X-Acto knife again. There is adhesive at the top and the bottom, so we want to take our X-Acto knife and just scrape on the adhesive to remove any bits of glass that is on there. And then once that's done, we just want to use our finger to kind of rub any residue, like dust, off of that middle portion in there. If your new screen has some sort of protector on it like mine does, just peel it off. There should be a little tab at the top or bottom to start peeling. So we're ready to put our new screen in, but we have to do so carefully. These two cables up at the top, we will need to feed through the slot in the front. Same way that the old screen came out, we just need to feed these two cables in. But this is the very important part. We need to make sure that on the other end, these two cables are the same length and that they are not bending at all in between when we insert them. If they are bending, like you can see right there, you need to pull them through before you insert the screen. Make sure they're the same length. If they are bent, it could potentially damage your screen and make it not work anymore. So make sure that those cables are the same length like I am here, just pulling it through before I press down on the screen. And now they're the same length, so I can go ahead and start lining the screen up and pushing it into place. And once that's back in place, we can start replacing some screws. So I recommend starting with the screws on the side just to get that screen held in place. So remember, we didn't take them all the way out, so all you need to do is tighten them. Pretty easy, and then once you've done that, you do need to put those tiny little corner screws in. They are all the same size again, so it doesn't matter which one goes where, but when you put the corner screws in, it is really challenging to get them in. It will take some time. Just be patient and try not to get too frustrated. And the best way to do it, I found, is to get your screwdriver magnetized by just rubbing it on a magnet, sticking the screw on the top, and then using the screwdriver to kind of put it in place. Just don't get frustrated, take your time, and you should be okay. Now we can take our speaker module and throw it into place. I like to put the left-hand side in first and then pop the right side in, and then we can replace the one screw on the right. We can't put the one in the left in yet because it does screw in through the motherboard, so just put the right one in for now, and then we'll worry about the screw on the left in a little bit. Now we can put the motherboard back in place, feed it in top first. You want to be really careful. This is kind of a fragile part. Not too fragile, but you don't want to be really rough with it either. Make sure that the battery tab isn't getting stuck underneath the motherboard, and sorry for my head getting in the way there. And then take your little spudger and make sure that this diode coming out of the speaker module isn't getting crushed underneath there. That would be bad. But once you've done that, you can push it down into place and go ahead and replace the one screw on the right-hand side. Then you can put back that one Phillips head screw that goes through the motherboard and the speaker module, and once you've done that, you can connect that diode coming out of the speaker module into the motherboard using just your finger. Be careful, you don't want this to break. Now we can start connecting some ribbon cables, so start by connecting this one right here on the left-hand side. All of them snap in pretty easily, and you will know when it's snapped in. You hear a little click, then stick it back down. You will, it does have some adhesive, and it should still stick pretty well. Place your camera back in place and connect the one ribbon cable. No screws to put back there. And then these three ribbon cables coming down we can connect. They don't have to be put down in any specific order, just pop them down. These two silver ones, the one on the right or furthest away from the camera has to go down first, and then the one on the left has to go down on top of it. Now just place the vibrator, no cables to attach, it just screws in. So just place it down there, and then the longer of the two screws goes in the top left, as you can see right there, and then the shorter screw goes in the bottom right. Now you need your flathead screwdriver, and you are going to screw this one screw with the hole in the middle of it right above the last ribbon cable on the right. Now you can put that EMI shield back into place. It does hook in kind of in the bottom, so you are going to need to take a little close look at it and make sure that those two little hooks are going into the slots. But it's pretty easy, just line it up and then go ahead and put the screws in. Then there's a little shield that goes over the ribbon cable connector in the middle left of the phone. You just put the shield in and then it It is held into place with 2 screws. They are different sizes, so make sure you put the right ones back. Sorry that I was kind of out of frame here. Okay, so now you can put that little funky metal dude down in there, and once it's in there, go ahead and put the battery back in place, and make sure that that little metal piece doesn't move around like mine did. If it does, just put it back into place. Then you can snap the battery connector back on, put the 1 screw back in, and you're all set. Now before you put the back cover on, make sure that the phone boots up, and once it does, we can go ahead and replace the back cover. Just line the 2 screw holes up at the bottom of the plate, slide it down into place, and then replace the 2 screws using a Phillips head screwdriver at the bottom of the phone. Place your SIM card back in the tray, slide it into the side of the phone, peel off the skin from the front of the screen if you have one, and your iPhone is fully back together. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If it did help you, please like the video, subscribe, and check out some of my other videos. See you later.